Hey y'all, I'm Elisa and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and I have some last minute gift tag ideas for you. If you are like me, then you might be wrapping presents all the way up to Christmas Eve, and I always run out of tags, and I like wrapping and I like making a package look beautiful, and that includes the tag. And so I have a few ideas to share with you on some ways that we can create some customized tags for your last minute gift wrapping. And of course, this works all year, not just for Christmas, and it's all using supplies that you might have around your craft room. And if not, I do have links below to the supplies I am using so that you can check those out. All right, here we go. Idea number one. Okay, this first idea actually comes from a friend of mine. I was telling her about the video that I was about to make, and she said, "Oh, well, I always use old greeting cards." And I was like, that is a fabulous idea. You get so many greeting cards over the holiday season, and if you're like me, you kind of wonder what to do with them after the holidays. And so one thing to do is to recycle them. And of course, I've talked before about how you can use these cards as ephemera pieces, as pieces in your journaling, but also as tags. And you can see all I'm doing is just trimming out shapes, kind of cutting them into tag shapes. I'm using my corner punch to round out some of the shapes. Some of the elements I'm cutting out, like that circle with the beautiful saying on it, and some of them I'm just making into rectangles. I'm pulling out those old school scrapbooking scissors that we all have from the 90s when they were super popular. I'm going to use my paper trimmer on this one just to kind of trim those up. I'm not really worried about the size. I think gift tags can be all different kinds of sizes and shapes, and that's what makes them interesting. But really all I'm focusing on doing some fussy cutting, and then I'm just picking out the shapes and using as much of the card as I possibly can. Now, these cards, these ones specifically, are from the Dollar Tree because after my friend mentioned this idea, I was like, oh, that's fabulous. I'm going to go pick some up. So that's another option. If you don't want to cut up cards that people have given you, then of course you can go by the Dollar Tree and pick up a few that kind of fit your theme, fit your gift wrap coloring. But here I'm just taking my hole punch and I've done all these shapes, adding the hole so that I can tag those cards to presents. And you can see I have a whole bunch of gift tags ready to go just from doing a little bit of fussy cutting. So dig out those old gift cards and give it a try. For my next idea, I'm starting out with some watercolor paper, and I'm just trimming out the watercolor paper. This is about 2 inches, and then the height of each tag will be about 3 inches. So they're approximately 2 by 3. I'm not being super specific on the sizing. Then I take my corner punch and I'm rounding off the corners on all of these tags. You can see I'm making a whole bunch, and I'm going to use these watercolor tags for a couple of different purposes. I like rounding off the corner. I think it gives it a nice finished look. And then I'm going to go ahead and pre-punch the hole so that when I'm doing my art, I can see where that is going to be. First technique I'm going to use on these tags is super simple. I have my embossing ink. This is a sticky ink. It is clear, and I am just rubbing it on the bottom of 4 of these tags. You can see I'm trying to get a really nice coating, not a specific shape or anything, just on the bottom. Then I will take some glitter embossing powder. This one is kind of a coppery gold glitter, and you can see I'm kind of passing it from card to card, and I will just cover the bottom and then heat it up, and that will melt the embossing powder, and it looks as if the tag has been dipped in gold paint. It's a very cool effect. It looks very classy. It gives you a nice place to write the to and from at the top of the tag. If you want it to be even a cleaner edge, you can see I wasn't really worried. These are ones I'm making quickly, trying to get it done. If you want it to be a really clean edge, you can of course put washi tape down to kind of protect the edge, and then after you have put your embossing powder, you'll want to lift up the washi tape before you heat the embossing powder, and that way the heat won't affect the washi tape and kind of overdo the heating on that. So I have these beautiful gold detail tags to add a little bit of glimmer. Now I'm going to pick 4 more, and I'm using my EK Success powder tool, rubbing it all over the tag to kind of take off some stickiness. At this point, my desk is a little bit crazy because I was working with embossing powder and it got everywhere. everywhere because that's kind of how I fly. But I have a beautiful snowflake stamp right here. Again, I'm using my clear sticky ink. I'm gonna go ahead and stamp on all 4 gift tags, and this time I will use a silver glitter embossing powder and sprinkle it over. Now, the reason I use the powder tool is to try to keep the embossing powder from sticking on anything else besides the actual stamp. Now, again, I went fast. I was a little bit generous in my stamping, pressed a little bit hard on the ink pad, and that kind of got a little bit messy. But the cool thing about this is before you heat it, you can use a finger, you can use a dry paintbrush, anything to kind of brush off the excess powder. I move those up there, clean up my powder, and then just heat emboss those. Again, it'll melt and make a permanent image of beautiful silver snowflakes on your tags. I really liked this technique because these were things that I already had in my stash. And of course, if you follow my channel, you know that I love, love, love some glitter and shimmer and metallics. So these are the perfect tags to add to my presents because it fits my personality. With the rest of my watercolor tags, I'm going to create some super simple abstract trees. I'm taking my Jane Davenport mermaid markers. I chose an array of different greens, a lot of different shades of green, and I'm just using this zigzag motion to kind of create an abstract tree. I'm going to try it in all the different greens that I have just to see how they turn out. If there's one that kind of fits your wrapping paper better or kind of goes with your decor, you might want to pick a shade that matches your decor. I'll add the zigzags on here. This is super simple. In fact, the messier the better because it kind of fits that abstract feel. And then I will come back and embellish these. And there's a lot of different ways you can embellish them, but I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers foil quill freestyle pens. You can see here I grabbed some gold foil and I'm coming over top of my Christmas tree very carefully and very slowly, drawing just a freehand kind of wonky star. That one is a little bit off center, but that's okay. I'm trying to line up the star underneath where the hole is punched in the tag so that it kind of lines up. There you go, adding a gold star to the top of each tree. And now I'm going to come back. This is some red foil paper and very lightly adding some different ornaments, just some dots on the tree. I use red on a couple of them and then actually decide to change my mind and go with pink on a couple of the last ones that are a different lighter green. You could go with any different colors you wanted for your ornaments, and you don't always have to use the foil. You could use sequins, you could use beads, you could just come back in with different color markers. Again, you could go back with your embossing powder and add some embossed circles here and there to kind of decorate your trees. But this is just a fun, easy way to kind of create that abstract look. The last technique for me is probably the most fun because we're getting into some mixed media. I have some craft cardstock here and I've picked the Black Soot Distress Oxide ink, and using my blending brush, I'm blending it through this kind of plaid stencil that I have from Tim Holtz. I purposefully am trying to make the background a little wonky, so you can see I do my stencil crooked. Over here I'm going for a very mixed media, messy feel. But all of my wrapping paper this year actually is in red, white, black, and craft colored paper. So these will work out fantastically on the presents that will be underneath my tree. The other tags I'm going to use for various things like teacher presents and things like that, but I kind of like all the presents under my tree to coordinate. So these tags will be great. I'm coming back in with this number stencil and using the Fired Brick color of Distress Oxide ink and just kind of randomly adding some numbers. I love numbers on presents. I think it's perfect for this time of year when there's lots of countdowns and Advent. So the numbers go really well with kind of the feel. Trying to make sure that there's red all over, not necessarily equally spaced, but just represented in every quadrant so that when I cut this, there will be plenty of red still showing on each tag. So I definitely like bling on most of my projects, so I'm grabbing my favorite metallic watercolors here and really saturating that gold really well, and I will put a good amount of gold splatters across this whole page. Again, this can be really messy and free. I like the contrast of the metallic look on top of the craft paper. Now I am using some of the Ken Oliver liquid metal shimmering gems, and this is in metallic ruby, and I'm just using my water brush and I squeeze some of it out here onto my dish, and I'm highlighting a few of the numbers, and it just adds a richness, a real metallic look on top of those numbers, adds a little bit more contrast, which I really like. Once that's dry, I will cut this into 4 pieces. These will be rather large tags, and then kind of trim them out, trim off the corners at a 45-degree angle to create that tag shape that we're all used to. But this is a really fun way. You could get your kids involved. They could just kind of go crazy with paint on a piece of paper, and then when you cut it, there's homemade tags that are made by them. So you can see I am trimming off the corners. I'll come back and add some holes to these. With my hole punch, comes in super handy. This is how, of course, it will attach to the gift. And I decide at the very end that I really want to kind of frame in the artwork that's on the tag. So I'm going to take that same Black Soot Distress Oxide ink and just rub it along the edge of each tag. And this will darken up the edge, kind of creating a nice border and frame around my tags. Hope these kind of spark some ideas for you on how to make your own fun, creative DIY gift tags. Let me know below if you like to make your own tags and what ideas you have. I would love to hear it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as that bell notification button. I hope you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.